Hey y'all, and welcome back. My name is Elizabeth and I'm so happy to have you here. I don't usually make videos like this, so this is a little bit odd. I haven't made a video like this in quite some time, but the other day I had a question that I started to type it up in the comments on somewhere. I can't remember where they even asked it, and I thought, rather than do this, why don't I just make a video, because I'm sure other people, I know I like watching these types of videos. I get new ideas and things, and sometimes it's just nice to be able to hit play and listen to someone talk kind of like a podcast, and about your favorite things that you enjoy, things you have to do, whatever the case may be. So I had a question the other day, and I thought, that is a really good question. Let me make a video on it because maybe it'll be interesting to someone else. So I don't normally make videos talking directly to the camera, but I thought, let's just try this out and see if anyone enjoys this type of video. We'll see. It's all new. We're just trying new things here, y'all. If you are new here, first of all, welcome. I'm so happy to have you. We live on a very small farm here in Arkansas. My husband and I and my two kids and my parents. We supply our own, and sometimes to our community, our own raw milk, our own eggs, seasonal produce and flowers, baked goods, handmade items like soaps, and I have a little sewing shop with my mom that we run. And so on here, I usually share weekly vlog style type videos of our life here on the farm in the country, with cooking and homemaking and fun things that we do here around the farm. So if that sounds like something you would enjoy, please subscribe. I would love to have you regularly. So today I wanted to talk about a question that I got that was along the lines of, where did you learn to cook, and what is your cooking inspiration? Like, who do you watch or learn from for inspiration? I thought this was such a good question because at this point in my life right now, you may be surprised to hear me say this, or maybe not if you know me personally, but I don't see myself as the best cook. We have two little ones. I have a toddler. You can probably hear them in the next room, but I have a toddler and I have a baby. And so our lives are busy. And to the moms that have more than two children, you're probably like, oh yeah, okay. But we are at a stage right now with our ages of children that just seem very chaotic. And so right now is, to me, the best time to talk about things like this, because in my eyes right now, I am struggling right now in the world of cooking. And so this is my number one thing that I would recommend to someone else who may be struggling like I am, or, hasn't quite gotten through it. My number one tip would be to find cooking inspiration. I am a very creative person, and I very much get inspired by something beautiful. And so when I can see other people creating something beautiful or being excited about something that they are cooking, that is what inspires me, not necessarily the act of getting it done. So this is my number one thing that I fall back on. When I start getting in a rut or I get stressed about getting supper on the table, what I fall back on is watching the people that I admire or am inspired by. What are they feeding their family? What are they making? And so that's what I want to talk about today. I want to give a disclaimer. So like I said, this is a tough season for me. I don't always view myself as the best cook, even though I'm constantly cooking or baking in videos. I even have a little local bake shop that I run. Cooking from scratch every single night, these elaborate meals, is just not something I'm doing. I'm going to be honest with you. We eat out. Sometimes I'm just making very simple meals of a meat and a vegetable. I am not this elaborate cook. A lot of times what you see in my other videos is whatever meal I was excited about that week. So that is inspiration in my eyes. And sometimes I go back and rewatch my old videos as a form of inspiration as to what we were eating then, even though I wouldn't say like, oh, y'all should look to me for inspiration. Lord help you. But anytime I see anyone posting about what they're eating, that gives me inspiration for our home. So that's not to say I am this perfect homemaker who thinks she has it all put together. I am still in my 20s. I still have a lot to learn. I have two kids, and I am just trying to figure this out. And I thought, what better time to talk about this than as I'm going through it? So, with that said, sometimes getting supper on the table is just plain hard. and you just need someone to tell you that. So if that's all that this is, even, I'm here to tell you that I too struggle to just get supper on the table, and that's okay. But here is one of my tips to combat it when you are feeling in a rut with getting supper on the table. I'm thinking of making this a series because this is something that I need to hear now, even still, but especially maybe a year or two ago. This is something I needed to hear. I needed someone to talk me through this, and several of these people that I'm going to talk about today actually did this for me in one way or another. Maybe they didn't in a sit down chat weekly video, but this was something that I needed. I still need to hear is just a series of tips on how to get supper on the table. So maybe we'll do that. We'll see. So for context, the first thing I want to get across is my style of eating. And I think you can still take something from this even if you don't cook or eat exactly like we do. All of these ladies, they are similar, but not all exactly the same. But for context, the way I grew up eating, what I'm used to and what we like now, is a very traditional, classic, maybe country or southern type of cooking. We love beans and cornbread. We love meatloaf. We love homemade bread. All of those types of things are the things that we eat, and it can be done, even though I'm trying to share with you how I'm getting supper on the table and my inspiration. It all can be done homemade if you just simplify it and find what works for you. So with that said, I'm going to share with you some lovely ladies that I get all my inspiration from. Not a single one knows that I'm making this video. Some of them being even far too big in the online community to even know this little channel exists or know anything about me. Some of them are personal friends though. So let's get into where I get my cooking inspiration when I am in a rut, when I don't know what to cook, and also just for fun. I love watching these women. I love being a part of a community, and so maybe this will get you some ideas. The first and biggest influence in my cooking and cooking inspiration is, quite frankly, old family cookbooks and what I grew up eating. So I'm sure this is everybody's, but what I grew up eating is probably my number one influence. It's the things that I know the best, that I make the most regularly, and for good reason. Maybe it's a sense of home, or it's the nostalgia of it, but it is what I lean into the most often and what I make the most often in our house, and it is what I know well. I have a lot of memories of my mom cooking when I was a kid. We had the garden, we had chickens to supply our own eggs, and we had a smaller form of a farm when I was a kid. But I do have memories of my mom in the kitchen. I have memories of my grandma in the kitchen, and memories of even more than just my immediate family, but other family members making bread or whatever it was that they made. We lived on a little 1 or 2 acre, I think it was 2 acre property, closer to town but still out in the country when I was a younger kid, and that's where we had chickens and a garden. Then we moved here on this farm, this property, and actually in this house that I currently now live with my husband and my kids while we build our other house. But we lived here and we had a bigger farm. So we've had cows, we've had goats, which we both currently still have, but at different times. We've had horses, which we no longer have. We have always had chickens and the garden, and all of those things have always been present in my life and in my cooking. So things I grew up eating are farm fresh, country meals, and that is my biggest influence in my cooking. And then with that, I have a ton of family cookbooks, and so these were either passed down to me from my grandparents or my mom or whoever from both sides of the family. I have some from Keith's family, and a lot of these are like the old-timey church cookbooks. Then some of them are just ones that they cooked from, so they bought for me or bought for someone else in my family, and it was passed down. So I have a ton of them, and a lot of times there's notes from my mom in them or from somebody else in them that kind of twists the recipe or whatever it was, or gives more tips into how to make the certain dish. These are what I fall back on the most. So if you're hurting for ideas or inspiration, that's where I would go first. Think back to when you were a kid. What did you love to eat as a kid? How special would that be for your kids to get to enjoy what you loved as a kid. I do this a lot. This is my favorite way, and honestly, I still need to think about this more often now. So close to that is the next inspiration, which quite honestly is just family and friends. I go to a small church. We have a small local community, but there is no hurting for good cooks or good bakers in our area. My church has a lot of wonderful bakers, specifically pie bakers, which I love because I'm still learning how to make really good pies. I can make pies. I love doing it, but I'm always looking at ways to make them better. And so we have some really good pie bakers. We have a lot of people who hunt and make some really good chili and all kinds of casseroles. The traditional church, think Southern church food, when you go to a potluck, that's the kind of stuff that my people do really well. Now, a lot of times in today's world, we can find inspiration from our own personal people online. A lot of people share recipes online. We could talk on Facebook or texting each other. Pinterest is a big thing, and so we all share recipes all the time on there. So whether they post it online or say I taste it at the church potluck and love it, there's always inspiration to be had, and we have this great opportunity these days to have so much at our fingertips. So I encourage you that if you feel stuck in your cooking or even taste something at the church potluck that you just love, go and ask them, whoever made it, because it is very likely that one, that will encourage them that you enjoyed something they made so much that you're interested in the recipe, and they probably will even share it with you. Something that is just wonderful these days, can be good and can be bad, is how much we have at our fingertips, and that is the world of online. So kind of in the middle here for me personally is someone that lives near me. She lives just a few minutes down the road. They run a local pick your own farm here in our area. I've actually shown it on YouTube a few times when we have gone to pick strawberries. And she also runs a TikTok account, and I've recently found it here in the last few months and have been watching all of her videos, and now I am seeing that she has started a YouTube channel where she is posting those as well, and her videos show very similar cooking to what I do. It's country, classic, Southern cooking, and her videos are very uplifting because yes, she's showing you a meal idea, here's what she does, and sometimes occasionally she shares the recipe exactly on there written out, but she also just radiates joy. She has this look about her videos, this feeling of her videos that make you feel just joy when you're watching her cook. And her account, I think it is called Lacey's Hilltop Homestead. I'm almost positive that's what it's called. I'll link it down below where you can watch it. But she has been sharing her videos and her cooking, and I love it. I love the fact that someone that I have talked to personally and know personally is sharing online too. Along those lines is bloggers and online creators. So one of my favorite things is relaxing after a long day and scrolling Pinterest or wherever I can find their things. Now I have them bookmarked on my computer, but scrolling and watching YouTube videos or checking their blogs for what others are making, the ones that I have been reading or watching for a while, seeing what's new. And so I have several bloggers and online creators that I watch when I'm relaxing, but now have become staples because I get a lot of cooking inspiration from them. And not even just cooking inspiration. A lot of them also share sewing and other crafts and farming and gardening and all of those things. They also share all of those types of videos or blog posts or content in some way, and that is very inspiring. But specifically for this, I focused on those that have the recipes that I like and cooking inspiration. First one is Miss Brenda Gant. If you're on Facebook, I'm sure you've heard of Brenda Gant. She kind of accidentally fell into having a Facebook cooking show. She posted one video and it completely took off and went viral on making buttermilk biscuits. And so now she makes videos regularly on Facebook. I think they get cross-posted onto YouTube and possibly Instagram and TikTok. I don't know for sure. But anyway, Facebook is where she primarily is. And she now has 3 cookbooks. I have I've ordered all three. The first and the second one I use all the time. You probably see me pull them out in videos, a red or a blue cookbook, hardcover cookbook. I use them all the time, and now I am waiting on my third Brenda Gant cookbook to come in because they are such staples in my kitchen. Her recipes are the best of the Southern classic country recipes. They're simple, they are using good quality ingredients, but the thing about hers is you can use store-bought or farm fresh. There are ways to adjust it either way, and her recipes are just really comforting and really, really delicious. The next two online creators that I get inspiration from all the time are both bloggers. I think they have YouTube channels as well. I know one for sure does, but they don't post on them as regularly as their blogs. So I love to just scroll their blogs and see what they have. But the first one is the Southern Lady Cooks. Now this is a blog that was started by a mom, and now her two daughters run it alongside her. They have very simple meals that are easy to make. They have simple ingredients, and they are just your Southern classics. They do it in a very beautiful, homey way. But what I love about them is the amount of recipes that they have on their blog. When I am thinking of making something, but I don't quite have the exact, recipe hashed out, or it's something new, I almost can guarantee that they will have a recipe for it on their website that I can kind of go off of. A lot of times also, if I have no inspiration, no idea, I can just scroll their blog and find it on their blog, and I almost always can find something. They have so many recipes, and they're all very, very good. Another blog in the same homey country feel that I really love and has a ton of recipes. They're simple. It's all the same things as the Southern Lady Cooks, is Katie from Heart's Content Farmhouse. Her blog is so cute. She has wonderful recipes and canning, and she has more canning than the Southern Lady Cooks. And I almost can always find something on her website if I'm uninspired to cook. There's always something. She also has some really good soap making tutorials on there and a few other things that she shares about. Now, last but certainly not least is Lisa over at Farmhouse on Boone. Now, if you're watching my channel, odds are that you regularly watch Lisa over at Farmhouse on Boone because she has a YouTube channel, a very big YouTube channel that shares similar content to mine. In fact, I'm always inspired by her. I'm sure you can see it in the videos. And she also has a very successful blog that shows more of the instructions for her recipes and sewing projects and things of that nature. But what I'm most inspired by is her YouTube channel because she makes videos like mine. She kind of takes you along for a week of her life. Almost every week, that's what she's doing. Sometimes it is a week of what they're eating. Sometimes it is just come hang out in the farmhouse with us for a day or for a week and see what all we are doing. But it's very inspirational, and you get to see a glimpse into their life and what they're doing while they live a similar life to my own is why I enjoy it. And so she has a blog where she has all her recipes written out if you need kind of the more instructional type of content. But her YouTube channel specifically is where I find the inspiration from. Now with Lisa at Farmhouse on Boone, she almost exclusively bakes with sourdough. I don't do a lot of sourdough anymore. If you had looked into my kitchen a year ago or 2 years ago, I was doing the whole 100% sourdough thing. I was selling sourdough bread. I fully understand all of the benefits of sourdough, why she does it. I get it. But for where I am at, my family is at, and our community is at right now, we are just doing regular flour, regular yeast, baked goods for the most part. But I can draw inspiration from her and come up with it on my own. Or a lot of times her recipes do well converting from sourdough using milk and yeast in place of sourdough starter. So her recipes can still be used if you want to go to her blog and still not do sourdough. And she does have a few recipes that are not sourdough on her website, amongst other things that wouldn't even be sourdough, like supper ideas that don't have any form of flour or bready type of component. She has all kinds of ideas and other homemaking tips on her channel. Those are my main sources of inspiration when in my kitchen and for cooking. And a lot of times these are what get me through ruts or periods of time when I just don't feel like getting supper on the table, the beauty that they create on their channels or online, or that these people that I look up to bring, inspires me enough to get my booty into gear and get supper on the table. I highly encourage you to check all of them out. I will put them in the description, and I highly encourage you to use your community for inspiration. What's in season locally that people are growing, or if it's just a meal at the church potluck that you really enjoyed, asking someone about that recipe so that you can add it to your collection of recipes for when you're in a rut in the kitchen. Now, with all of that said, our family does have preferences, and so I encourage you that once you get good at making a recipe, or you see a recipe that looks good to you, that you tweak it for yourself. Most of my cookbooks all have little notes in there. I've changed recipes so many times, and many of them are just jotted down on a piece of paper, and I have since lost the original recipe because I've gotten so comfortable with it that I have basically made the recipe my own. I encourage you to do that as well. We have a lot of great information and people right at our fingertips who are willing and happy to give us ideas and inspire us in the kitchen, and I think it is a great resource for the home cook if we will just use it for what it is, as inspiration, and dive into being more comfortable in our kitchen. Now, I never want to let on that I have this all figured out. I do this perfectly, no problem. Here's how you can do it too. That is not the point of this. The point of this is also to serve as inspiration by me sharing who I look up to for these things, because it's just 100% not true that I get supper on the table perfectly every single night. It's just not. I grew up with a lot of great women who taught me how to cook, and I am continuing to learn from others who are willing to inspire and share as well. If you are new here, please subscribe for more farm life, country living, and just good old-fashioned homemaking. I love to connect. I would love to chat more in the comments with you as well. Thanks for stopping by. Bye-bye, y'all.